The committee hearing room fell dead silent. Former Attorney General Bill Barr, his face red with frustration, suddenly slammed his hand on the witness table. "That's enough!" he shouted, pointing directly at Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. The Bai camera captured everything: his trembling finger, her unflinching stare, the shocked faces of everyone in the room. What happened next would break the internet within hours. Crockett didn't back down. She didn't apologize. Instead, she delivered a response so sharp, so perfectly calculated, that it left Barr speechless and sent shockwaves across America. The moment when a former Attorney General lost his composure on live television, and how a Congresswoman turned his outburst into her triumph. Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. The tension had been building for 20 minutes, but nobody expected it to explode like this. Bill Barr, the man who once commanded the entire Department of Justice, was about to learn that Jasmine Crockett doesn't intimidate easily, and what she said next would be replayed millions of times across social media, turning a heated hearing into a defining moment of political theater. To understand why this confrontation hit so hard, you need to know who was sitting across from each other that day. On one side, Bill Barr, 73 years old, former Attorney General under 2 Republican presidents, a man who'd spent decades in the highest levels of government. His reputation was built on being the ultimate Washington insider, someone who commanded respect through experience and institutional authority. On the other side sat Jasmine Crockett, 43-year-old Congresswoman from Texas, civil rights attorney, and someone who'd built her career fighting for the underrepresented. She'd only been in Congress for 2 years, but she'd already made a name for herself as someone who didn't back down from powerful figures, no matter how intimidating they tried to be. The hearing was supposed to be routine, former officials testifying about past policies and procedures. But tensions had been simmering for weeks. Barr had been making media appearances, defending his tenure and taking shots at current administration policies. Crockett had been vocal about what she saw as abuses of power during Barr's time in office. The room was packed with reporters, cameras, and political observers. Everyone knew this could get heated, but nobody predicted it would become one of the most viral political moments of the year. The stakes weren't just about policy disagreements. This was about respect, power, and who gets to control the narrative in American politics. Barr sat at the witness table in his dark suit, hands folded, looking every bit the seasoned government official. His whole demeanor said he expected deference, the kind of respectful questioning he was used to from his years in power. Crockett sat at the committee table, her notes organized, her questions prepared, ready to do what she'd been elected to do, hold powerful people accountable. The generational divide was obvious. Here was the old guard of Washington power facing off against new voices demanding change. Barr represented decades of established authority. Crockett represented a new generation of leaders who weren't impressed by titles or intimidated by reputation. What made this moment so explosive wasn't just the clash of personalities, it was what they represented. Barr embodied the traditional power structure, the idea that former high officials deserve automatic respect and gentle questioning. Crockett represented a different approach, the belief that no one is above accountability, regardless of their past positions or current status. The hearing had already gone longer than scheduled. Other committee members had asked their questions, mostly staying within the usual boundaries of congressional decorum. But everyone in the room knew that when Crockett's turn came, things might get interesting. She had a reputation for asking the hard questions that others avoided, for pressing when others backed off. As the committee chair called her name, the energy in the room shifted. Reporters leaned forward, cameras focused. Even other committee members seemed to sit up straighter. Because when Jasmine Crockett gets her 5 minutes, anything can happen. "Mr. Barr," Crockett began, her voice steady and professional, "I want To ask you about your role in some controversial decisions during your tenure as Attorney General. She looked down at her notes, then back up at him. Specifically, your handling of investigations and your public statements about ongoing cases. Barr shifted slightly in his chair. Congresswoman, I always acted within my authority and followed proper procedures. Did you? Crockett's tone remained calm, but there was an edge to it. Because I have documents here that suggest otherwise. She held up a folder. Internal memos that show you pressured career prosecutors to change their recommendations. How do you explain that? The room grew quieter. Other committee members who had been shuffling papers or whispering to staff suddenly focused on the exchange. Barr's face tightened slightly. I don't explain it because your characterization is wrong, Barr replied, his voice rising just a bit. As Attorney General, I had the responsibility to ensure that prosecutorial decisions were fair and appropriate.